Welcome back, this is Luca, and today we talk about the Fujifilm 18mm f2 that you see in my hands. This lens was part of the initial trinity of lenses that Fujifilm launched with the X mount. It was the 35mm, the legend, 35mm f1.4, and the 60mm macro f2.4. And from the beginning, this lens has received a lot of criticism. Back then, when I picked it up, and I picked it up as soon as these lenses came out, I didn't really see why people were so upset with this lens because, mind you, it was 14 years ago. It was a long time ago, and we were far from the modern perfect lenses that we have nowadays. And so then I sold it, but then I purchased it back again a couple of months ago because I got my XE5. I decided that my XE5 was going to be my travel lightweight setup, and I thought, I love 28mm equivalent. This is a 28mm equivalent. Why not giving it a second try and see whether this lens is worth being picked up in 2026 or it needs a thorough upgrade from Fujifilm? And the short answer to that question is, in my opinion, this lens is not worth picking up in 2026. And what is going to surprise you is it's not because it's not good enough for the 40 megapixel sensor, because center sharpness, even wide open, even on a 40 megapixel sensor with this lens, is not bad. Of course, it's not the best of the world, but it's not bad. But any other aspect of the lens besides center sharpness, colors, and even the bokeh, I don't mind the bokeh. It's not the smoothest, but it's not bad at all. Every other aspect needs a substantial upgrade because this lens is pretty weak in the corners. And of course, the 40 megapixel sensor emphasizes that dramatically, and it shows dramatic chromatic aberration compared to what we're used to with modern lenses, together with an autofocus that is old, slow, clunky, noisy, unreliable, and unusable for video. So while this lens is still an interesting lens because of the focal length, because of the size, because of the look, and it would look even better on my XE5 if it wasn't this banged up, but that's besides the point of this video, this lens has pretty dramatic flaws that, compared to modern lenses, kind of stand out and make it look like not a good investment for your system, because these lenses still get sold at a pretty high price if you consider the fact that they're pretty old, and you can get modern lenses, new modern lenses that get you more from an image quality standpoint and from an autofocus standpoint compared to this lens over here. The first of them is the Viltrox Air 15mm f1.7. That lens is faster, the autofocus is better, is more silent, and the image quality is much, much better. Of course, you don't have an aperture ring, which you do in this lens. This is one of the reasons why I picked it up. And it's all plastic, but you can purchase that for around $200. This one, even used, even pretty old like mine, still sells for more than that. And again, it's not that the lens is not usable. It is usable. If you have it, you don't have to go and sell it. But if you're going to purchase one, then I'd probably look at something different. And consider there's no other 28mm equivalent as a focal length, at least at comparable size, weight, and cost. Because There are competitors, but they are slightly different focal lengths. Most of them are either 16 or 15 millimeters lenses, so you're not gonna get exactly what you get with this one, but I'd rather go towards the Viltrox, or what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to sell this 80 millimeters f2 and get the new Sigma 50mm f1.4 because that lens also has an aperture ring, which is, in my opinion, a must on a Fujifilm system. And it's 1.4. It's more expensive than this, although if you're purchasing this one new, the difference is not that big. And the lens, yes, is a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier, but if I'm going out, if I'm traveling, if I'm going on a street photography session, I'd rather get the image quality and I'd rather avoid thinking about what setting I'm using to get the best out of this lens. And also, I'd rather have a lens that has a modern autofocus rather than getting this one where the autofocus is definitely slow. This was very complicated to focus with already with the X Pro 1 when it launched. It got better and better, and of course, the more modern cameras do a better job. But the inherent difficulties of the autofocus of this lens are not going away just because I have a newer camera. So, all in all, if you're looking at bang for your bucks, while this lens is beautiful, while this lens matches perfectly with the Fujifilm look, I'd stay away from it, despite the fact that I love the focal length and I used to love this lens back then, just because there's so much better alternatives in the Fujifilm lineup. Not only Fujifilm, but also third-party lenses that make this lens a little bit useless, if you want. There's a complete different story when it comes to the 35mm f1.4. As I mentioned in this video that you find over here, I believe that the 35mm f1.4 doesn't need an optical update, it only needs an autofocus update. But we're going to discuss about that in a specific video because I have one with me right now. It's not mine, I have to give it back, but I'm willing to go through the testing and shooting again with that lens just to prove that what I said back then wasn't just me remembering the old good times with that lens. So this video was meant to be short. I didn't want to re-review a lens that has been reviewed on a website, not on YouTube. YouTube wasn't a thing back then. But I wanted to give you an update on 2026 whether this lens was worth it or not. I hope this was useful for you guys. Let me know in the comments below whether you're still rocking this lens, you're still using this lens, whether you like it or not. And let me know what is your preferred alternative if you have to pick up one. That is it for today. Ciao, grazie, and I'll see you in the next one.